I think prayer useful on the basis of person who have some faith. Then prayer very good. But then, as I already mentioned, secular way, nothing to do with religion. Then prayer not much relevant. Simply, I feel thinking, our mind, our wisdom, thinking, analyze. Then you get the conviction, non-violence, karuna, ahimsa. These are key factors for happy individual, happy community, happy world. Not thinking about God, about next life. Simply, you see, how to build peaceful world. In order to peaceful world means, firstly, in our heart, peace must develop. So that's India's karuna and ahimsa. That's the basis of peace. So through knowledge, through education, you can develop inner peace. So that's more important rather than also the days and weeks prayer. Then Bishop Tutu
No.
Ruba.
Lela.
Tutu Ruba.
No. Did the chocolate.
Ka.
John Chilenge.
Oh. Bishop Tutu, since my, I think, first visit to Africa, or even before, some meeting, public meeting, as I already said, we developed very close feeling, Bishop Tutu. But we, not much sort of emphasis about prayer. So, prayer means, you see, you believe some higher being, like God. So, since Bishop Tutu, we become very, very close friend, really trusted friend. So, one occasion in Canada, public meeting, you see, he very much praised me. Praised me. Then at the end, he mentioned, unfortunately, this person is not Christian. Then, since we very close, also the friend, so I invited him, come here. We spent a few days. Now later some books also now appear. So, you see, we also serious discussion. Then, one occasion, he teasing me. He, as a Christian believer, God. I'm Buddhist, no believe God. So he, as a Christian practitioner, after death, he ready go to heaven. Dalai Lama goes somewhere different place. So, strictly speaking, you see, I'm non-believer. So, most probably go to hell. So, the prayer in ancient time, yes, with faith and prayer, including Buddhist, we always say prayer, pray, and recite some mantra like that. Nowadays, according to secular way, I feel use human intelligence properly, thinking. then everybody, without any question, every sort of sentient being want peace. Even animal, birds, small, tiny fly,
Flies.
all, you see, want peace, happiness, do not want disturbances. So now use our intelligence, then the basis of happiness is inner peace. Oh, where there is inner peace, then happiness comes. Oh. But sometimes, I think, frankly speaking, sometimes we pray day and night, but with some kind of fear and sometimes anger. That's not very proper, like that. So now, as here, one sort of example, one my friend, who are scientists, you see, he want to spend about half hour like that, while I sort of carry prayer or meditation. You see, that scientist, you see, want join with me. So we sit together, and then later, you see, that person really very much appreciate, you see, meditation. So as a matter of fact, you see, later that person, you see, expressed since that period, his whole life changed. Some say that. So I feel most important is use human intelligence combined with human, as a social animal, warm-heartedness, combine human intelligence and human, compassion combined. That's the basis of all religion, like that. Yes?
Your Holiness, the next question is from a professor of history and politics. As a public intellectual and writer, he has campaigned and supported the agendas of Your Holiness, and has lobbied for an award of the Bharat Ratna to you, India's highest honor. He's Gopal Gandhi, who happens also to be the grandson of the Mahatma, to whom you dedicated your Nobel Peace Prize. So it's over to you, Gopal Bhai.
Your Holiness, it is a great privilege to be in your presence. I have a question which is almost like a confession. It is like this. Both prayer, when I am in a mood of faith, when I am in a mood to believe in God, so both when I am in prayer and when I am in doubt and when I try to use my intelligence, I am confronted with a sense of helplessness when I see that karuna and ahimsa, two things I believe in, two things I have been taught to believe in, and two things which I relate to. When I see karuna and ahimsa being defeated all the time by powerful forces and trends in the world, when I see this beautiful concept of karuna and ahimsa being constantly frustrated by forces that seem to be so much stronger, I get very rattled. I feel very defeated. I seek your guidance, Your Holiness.
Like, as I mentioned earlier, we must utilize human intelligence. So now the oneself full of compassion, full of concern of other people. Meantime, some people is totally against that, and then the real sort of motivation, say, out of compassion, out of concern of their well-being. So, with that motivation, for temporary, sometimes you may utilize more wrathful method. For example, now these different deities, you say, out of compassion, the sense of concern of the well-being, if there is no other way to stop that, then, if necessary, some kind of more wrathful method to stop that out of sense of compassion. So that's not sort of out of hatred, not out of anger, but genuine sense of concern, out of compassion. Then the method, for temporary method, sometimes more forceful way to stop. So, regarding religion, particularly Buddhist Indian tradition, the main thing is motivation. If motivation is negative and a smile, give some gift, it's wrong. With sincere motivation, helping them, and some cases, if necessary, little bit sort of wrathful way. So everything, the motivation. Now here, I learned something. The quantum physics, judging their sort of explanation, there is differences, appearance and reality. Appearance, sometimes something negative, but deeper level, the reality, not that way. So, in any way, the quantum physicists, they say there is gap, appearance and reality. Appearance, everything objectively exists, but reality much depends on mental projection. So that's quantum physicists say. One, the Indian scholar, Rajaramana, he once told me, quantum physics in the West is developed recent time. In this country, in India, 2,500 years ago, already developed. He mentioned it is very true. So when quantum physicists, they explain, of course, this little funny story. When they explain, so I sincerely listen, but in my mind, I felt, I know better. We actually daily basis practice these things and make distinction, appearance and reality, like that. So therefore, all these negative emotion, very much based on appearances, and go deeper level, then you see, not like the appearances. So therefore, all the appearances, things objectively exist. Then grasping something good, something bad, and good, too much attachment. Something bad, too much anger. So, you see, these appearance are not necessarily according to reality. So, the reality, every human being, including our enemy, or even the demon, all these want happiness, want peace. So everyone deserve our compassion. So, so make a distinction, appearance and reality. That's important. So-called enemy appears due to certain sort of reason, temporary, not the reality. The reality is still human being, still sentient being, want a peace, want a friend, want a smile. You see, thinking these lines, then the negative emotion reduce. Now my friend, some Chinese student in Lendu University, you see, some sort of have the view, a quantum physics student of quantum physics, then you see, they much reduce also grasping something negative, very much sort of grasp, and anger, some positive attachment. On that basis, too much sort of distinction, we and they. So quantum physics, some students say, oh, they have that kind of, sort of experiences. So more, because of that, tranquility survey.
Equal.
Equal.
Neutral. Neutral.
Neutral. Equal.
Reaction.
Like that. Okay.
Your Holiness, our next guest is a social and women's rights activist, educationist, and writer. And close to your heart is that her work and aspirations have sought to nurture a deeper understanding of authentic Islam. That's something that's very close to your heart, and you have taken a number of initiatives in this. So it's over to you, Sayyidah Hamidji.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness. It's an honor to be in your presence. And my question flows from what Gopal said, and also from your the discourse with which you began today's conversation. Your Holiness, Islam in the eyes of the world today is synonymous with terrorism. Muslims are looked at with suspicion and aversion. Post-partition, all that my elders struggled for has lost its meaning. It's a matter of life and death, Your Holiness. What is the way forward for the 200 million Muslims of this country, and indeed the many, many more Muslims across the world? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. As I mentioned already, the Indian Muslim, I never heard, as I mentioned earlier, as a negative feeling between Sunni and Shia. So now here, we can't change their faith, Sunni and Shia. Now important is we should, we should develop more, closer relations. As I mentioned earlier, Indian Muslim, Shia and Sunni, no problem. Some others of the Muslim country, you see the problem. So therefore, Indian Muslim should develop more wider contact with other Muslim brothers, sisters. So I suggested my friend Ladakhi Muslim. You see, I have very, very close link with them. So I suggested they should organize, firstly, national level within Indian Muslim, Shia and Sunni, and Kachigoro. So you see some meeting. We already have, you see, that kind of meeting. At that time, some Muslim from Iran also is participated. So now these days, because of the illness, otherwise I'm sort of still committed occasionally some international level, firstly national level, then international level, Muslim country from different Muslim sort of faith together and discussions. So the Indian Muslim, I think, should take some initiative to closer relation with Muslim brothers, sisters in different countries. Then automatically impact within the country certainly is come. So India, as I mentioned earlier, I think religious harmony very good exist like that. So Indian Muslim can show other Muslim brothers, sisters in Muslim country where a little bit narrow-minded and show them we live together. And the Indian Muslim, I think from childhood, they already know there are different traditions, different religions. The Shia and the Sunni is to say no problem, like that. Okay, I think Indian Muslim, you see, can make certain contribution, and for that automatically has some positive impact among the Indian Muslims. Okay.
Your Holiness, you had, after the terrorist attacks in New York, you had spoken out in support of a deeper understanding by other communities of Islam, which was being perceived as a source of terrorism and violence. And I think there's anxiety in the kind of work that Syed Haji is doing on the misunderstanding about Islam and your efforts, personal efforts to try and bridge that.
So-called terrorist, individual person, among the Buddhists also some terrorists, among the Jews, among the Christians, among the Hindus or Muslims. So these are sort of normal. But we cannot sort of conclude that whole sort of tradition out of some individual's behavior. So thinking deeper level, wider perspective, then the Muslim, I know, this is from childhood, Muslim. Then in Lhasa, after I think some Muslim from Ladakh reached Lhasa, then 5th Dalai Lama provided land for their temple, for their mosque. So small Muslim community in Lhasa, they always participate each Tibetan government function like that. So, you see, if you show your hand, then a positive responsibility always there. If you see, remain the suspicion or negative attitude, then problem happen. So therefore, I think basically the Muslim. I think in Lhasa, there are Muslim community, but no record Muslim community create problem or fighting. Muslim community, small community in Lhasa, very peaceful. So many Tibetan monk, you see, they they found go to Muslim family, and those Muslim trader go between Tibet and India. So the sources of information about Mahatma Gandhiji, about, you see, India's sort of freedom fight. So it's a Tibetan, in Lhasa area, Tibetan, many Tibetan, is a fond visit Mongolian businessmen. Muslim, yes. Like that, very peaceful, very peaceful. Okay.
The next question is from another old friend of yours, Shyam Saran, who served as India's foreign secretary and also accompanied us on that pilgrimage to different traditions that you and the respect for them that you have embodied. And he has often argued that he is pro-Tibetan and pro-Dalai Lama because he is pro-India, and so he's pro both Guru and the Chela. Shyam, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Holiness, for your constant blessings. I'm really privileged to have this opportunity of listening to you and also to pose some question to you. You have often said, and you repeated today, that while it is very important for us to maintain physical hygiene, and we pay a lot of attention to maintaining physical hygiene, but perhaps we don't pay much attention to our emotional hygiene or to our mental hygiene, and that it is as important to keep our minds clean as we keep our bodies clean. And it is true that perhaps through a practice of meditation, you are able to try and cleanse your mind. My question is that while the way for an individual seems to be fairly clear, how do we ensure the cleanliness of mind of an entire community? How do we ensure the cleanliness of mind for entire country and, of course, the entire world? Because what you are able to do individually, if you are not able to translate that into a community sort of practice, it is difficult to see how we can make a difference. We have, for example, in India today, this Swachh Bharat campaign to keep India clean. But how do we make certain that the minds of Indians also are cleansed in the process? Thank you, Your Holiness.
Okay. As I already mentioned, the 1,000-year-old Indian tradition of ahimsa and karuna now should put in education field or secular way. So now this, for the time being, this illness,
Coronavirus pandemic.
pandemic.
No, pandemic.
This illness, this problem, you see, as soon as this, reduce, I'm thinking seriously, you see, firstly, now here, my public sort of teaching. Then I'm very, very eager go to Delhi. Some scholars. So how to put in education field strictly secular way about, you see, the ahimsa, karuna. And here I think the Nalanda tradition, as I already mentioned, much resources how to tackle anger, fear, jealousy, and how to develop the positive emotion, karuna, these things. So these, although information come from Buddhist text, but we should consider these are academic subject, not religious subject. So how can now, as I mentioned earlier, how can sort of combine the ancient Indian knowledge and because of the today's reality. So I'm thinking, I'm a very, very eager go to Delhi and also some places for mainly education. I see there is great potential now that we must sort of utilize. For that, we have to discuss how to start the proper sort of a proper way. There is no other alternative to look west. No answer. To Africa, also difficult. Now, in the sense of because of the West, the Western European countries, and then Eastern the Eastern countries. I think not much idea. China, there is potential, but recent decades, you see, deliberately or controlled. Now, fortunately, these days, Buddhist number in China now much increase. Now nearly 400 million Buddhists. So in any way, but you see, they have no opportunity to study these sort of complicated sort of subject. So now, I think India should make some effort. And for that, as I mentioned earlier, I am very, very keen to discuss, to organize some educationist sort of meeting and scholars. As I mentioned earlier, a revival of ancient Indian knowledge and combine modern knowledge and ancient Indian knowledge in the name of hygiene of physical, hygiene of emotion. Okay.
Our next question, Your Holiness, is from Aruna Roy, who's an activist on numerous issues related to the poor and the marginalized. She's helped catalyze laws related to the right to information, the right to work, and the right to food. You have visited Aruna and her husband in Telonia at the Barefoot College some years ago, and she has an old connection with you. She met you when she was 9 years old. Aruna.
Your Holiness, it's an honor to be with you, even though virtually. We met at the Barefoot College. You spent 24 hours, and I had the honor of serving you in 2011, if you remember. These are very difficult times, Your Holiness, both in India and globally. As Saida was saying, there is so much hatred and there's so much inversion of truth and justice, where wrong is portrayed as right and right is prosecuted. Secularism is also seen with with criticism. So being secular is no longer a freedom in India. How do we deal with this environment when we're dealing with poverty, with differences, with hostility, and with so many other issues? How do we address the environment and ourselves in this context, Your Holiness?
I have the feeling, so today's world following the previous century. So now, if we use our sort of our intelligence, then previous century, a lot of problem, a lot of killing. Now they still many traces of problem is simply people's mind simply copy about past or also the experience, past history. So now I think I may use some kind of revolutionary thinking, something different. You see, we should not sort of follow the past sort of way of life, way of thinking. Now situation much change, population much increase, and a lot of problem. And also you see problem due to rich and poor. Global level, national level, these problems there. Now we have to think seriously. Now, what's the reason in previous time, these problems? Now we have to follow different way to overcome, you see, these narrow-minded thinking about past history. So through education, again, I think through education, and too much emphasis we and they, as I already mentioned, we really, ultimately, we need a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Then within the country, no question, the religious different of color, all these different of nationality, these are secondary. Mainly, we are same human being. So, through education, I think also today sort of, sometimes I feel the children, young child, when they not yet join education, school, they not much consider importance of different religion, different nationality. So long, smiling, play together, the sameness of brothers, sisters there. Once they join education, then they develop the thinking, different religion, different nationality, in America and some other country, different sort of color, like that. So then in school, emphasis differences. Before that, by nature, the sense of oneness is there. Now our education, children, by nature, sense of oneness there. Now education must sort of emphasize that value. We are same. We all want happy life. So education is the key factor. That's my feeling. So we today's problem, you see, we simply follow the sort of old way of thinking. Still go that, then problem. So now new situation. So on top of that, as I already mentioned, environment problem. So global warming, these are now new serious sort of problem. So now world change. Then you see the previous century. So now education or way of thinking, way of life must now adopt according new circumstances, not simply repeat the past sort of city, way of thinking, way of life. I feel that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And now the last question from the son of a very dear friend of yours, Baba.